A little girl was sleeping next to a pile of trash in the freezing cold. And the only thing keeping her warm was a dog that refused to leave her side. Marcus Reed had built a company worth $300 million from nothing. He woke up at 5 every morning, worked 16 hours a day, and had not cried since he was 9 years old. He did not believe in luck. He did not believe in excuses. And he definitely did not believe that one random night in December could completely destroy the man he thought he was. But that is exactly what happened. And by the time you finish this story, you will understand why. It was Christmas Eve. Marcus was leaving his office in downtown Chicago at nearly midnight. Snow was falling hard, the kind that sticks to everything and makes the whole city look like a postcard. His driver was waiting. His penthouse was warm. He had a glass of whiskey with his name on it. Everything was perfect. He walked past an alley he had walked past 100 times before, and something stopped him. Not a sound, not a voice, just a feeling, the kind your gut sends you when something is wrong and your brain has not caught up yet. He turned and looked into the alley. There, between two overflowing trash bags, was a little girl. She looked about 6 years old. She was wearing a thin pink jacket that was nowhere near thick enough for the weather. Her knees were pulled to her chest. Her eyes were closed, and pressed against her, sharing every bit of body heat it had, was a golden Labrador. The dog looked up at Marcus the moment he stepped closer. It did not growl. It did not bark. It just looked at him, like it had been waiting for someone to finally show up. Marcus stood there for a long moment. He later said he felt something crack open in his chest in that alley. Not break. Crack open! Like something that had been sealed shut for years finally got some air. He called out to the girl softly. She stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, confused, the way kids look when they wake up somewhere unfamiliar. She saw him, and instead of fear, the first thing she did was reach back and put her hand on the dog, making sure he was still there. Marcus crouched down. He asked her name. She told him it was Lily. He asked where her parents were. She was quiet for a moment, then she said simply that her dad was gone and her mom was sick inside. He asked what she meant by sick. She pointed down the alley toward a door that was barely hanging on its hinges. What Marcus found inside that building changed him forever. Lily's mother, a woman named Sarah, was lying on a mattress on the floor. She had pneumonia. Bad. Her temperature was dangerously high, and she had been in and out of consciousness for 2 days. She had no phone, no money, no one to call. She had told Lily to stay close to Rex, the dog, because she knew he would protect her. And he had. That dog had not moved from Lily's side for 48 hours straight. Marcus called an ambulance immediately. He rode with them to the hospital. He sat in the waiting room at 2 in the morning on Christmas Eve in a $3,000 coat, surrounded by flickering fluorescent lights. And he did not leave. He started asking questions. Who was Sarah? How did she end up here? What he learned over the next few hours, piece by piece, was a story he was not prepared for. Sarah had been a nurse, a good one. She worked at a hospital on the north side for 8 years. Then her husband, Lily's father, died in a car accident 18 months ago. After that, Sarah missed work, then more work. Then she lost her job. The hospital had a policy. 3 absences in a month and you were out. She had begged for an exception. She was a grieving widow with a 6-year-old. They said no. Within 4 months, she had burned through her savings. 6 months after that, she lost the apartment. Here is the part that hits different when you really sit with it. Sarah was not lazy. She was not reckless. She had done everything right for years. And one tragedy, one single event she had zero control over, had pulled the floor out from under her entire life. Studies show that medical debt and job loss after a family death are among the top 3 causes of homelessness in the United States. Sarah was not a statistic. She was a woman who loved her daughter so much that even while barely conscious with a raging fever, her last clear thought had been to tell Lily to stay close to Rex. Marcus could not sleep that night. He sat in that waiting room and thought about how many times he had walked past people on the street and told himself they had made bad choices. He thought about the story he had always told himself, that hard work always wins, that if you are struggling, it means you are not trying hard enough. He had built his entire identity on that story, and sitting in that hospital at 3 in the morning, it started to fall apart. Sarah survived. She spent 10 days in the hospital. Marcus covered the entire bill without telling her. He arranged for Lily and Rex to stay at a proper hotel during that time, with meals, warm clothes, and someone to check on them every day. When Sarah was finally discharged, she walked out to find Marcus waiting with something she had not expected. He had spoken to a colleague who ran a medical staffing company. Sarah's nursing license was still valid. Her record was clean. There was a position available, and there was a small furnished apartment he had arranged 3 months of rent for, enough time to get back on her feet. He handed her a folder with all of it inside. Sarah did not say thank you right away. She just stood there and cried. Not the kind of crying that looks pretty in movies. The real kind. The kind that comes from somewhere deep, where all the fear and exhaustion and grief had been living for a year and a half. Lily wrapped her arms around her mom's legs. Rex sat down beside them both and leaned in. Marcus said later in an interview that he went back to work in January a different person. Not softer, he was quick to say. Just bigger, like his understanding of the world had expanded in a way that could not shrink back down. He started a foundation. That year focused specifically on families who lose income after bereavement. To date, it has helped over 4,000 families avoid homelessness. He also changed the company leave policy so that any employee who loses a spouse or child gets 6 months of protected leave, fully paid, no questions asked. When a journalist asked him what made him stop and look into that alley that night, he thought about it for a second and said he honestly did not know. Then he smiled and said maybe Rex knew. Because here is the thing about that dog. Rex had no reason to trust a stranger in a dark alley at midnight. But he did not run. He did not attack. He just looked at Marcus like he was saying finally, I have been holding this together alone and I could really use some help. Sometimes the bravest thing in the room is not the powerful person. It is the one who has been quietly holding on, in the cold all night long, waiting for someone to finally pay attention. Lily still has Rex. Sarah is back working as a nurse. And Marcus Reed, the man who had not cried since he was 9 years old, cried 3 times while telling this story. Watch the next video on your screen right now. You will not regret it.